The Starlight Night. Look at the stars. Look up at the skies. Oh, look at all that fire folk sitting in the air. The bright burrows, the circle citadels there. Down in the dim woods, the diamond delves, the elves' eyes, the gray lawns cold where quick gold lies. Wind beat white beam, airy abellas set on a flare, flake doves sent floating forth at a farmyard scare. Ah, well, it is a purchase, all is a prize. Buy then, what? Prayer, patience, alms, vows. Look, look, a May mess, like an orchard boughs. Look, March bloom, like on mealed with yellow swallows. These are indeed the barn. Within doors house the shocks. This bright paling shuts the spouse. Christ, home, Christ and his mother, and all his hollows. So, this is another poem of celebration of the beauty which one can find if one look for it in the universe. All is needed is the looking or the finding. In other words, these things are there. God initiates and we respond, whether it's in prayer or in our senses responding to the beauty manifested everywhere we look in the universe. So it might almost be summed up in the psalm, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the skies proclaim his handiwork. But in this poem, Hopkins makes the imagery of that line from the Psalms come alive with his celebration of beauty as seen in the night sky. He uses, again, the sonnet format as he asks us to join with him in scanning the heavens as he describes in spectacular fashion the cities and the woodland hollows of the sky. Ecstatic, he calls the stars fire folk and circle citadels, comparing them to wind-blown white flowers, flake doves sent floating forth from a farmyard, comparing them to wind-blown white flowers that are suddenly blown into the air as though they had been scared by some object that spooked them. So by this comparison, where he takes this faraway vision of the stars and the far-reaching realms of the universe, and he compares it to the commonplace objects in a local farmyard, he connects us in the here and now to the external or the eternal far away. It is similar to a device that Thornton Wilder in his play Our Town uses, where he describes the geographic constitution of Grover's Corners and as the oldest in the world. He says they're sandstone outcroppings 200, 300 million years old. Then in the next line, he tells us that these same unique fossils have been found in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. So it's kind of like bringing something far and distant right up to the here and now. So we are called to look into the sky and see these citadels, these cities of bright lights. So having connected these bright points of light far away in the night sky to a mess of flowers fluttering in the air, scattered everywhere, orchard boughs, he then goes further with this imagery, now telling us that these are indeed the barn and the within doors house, the shocks or wheat symbolizing Christ. The word spouse suggests the image of Christ in his church. And here we see Christ at the center with his mother and the saints, all hollows. Walls can be understood as something that either wall out or wall in. In this final image, he shows Christ as the center with the walls surrounding us as part of the entire universe. It's another example of his demonstration of Christ's continuous reincarnation in all of creation. There are no fewer than 16 exclamatory sentences in the poem entirely, suggesting a mood of sheer elation, whereas the psalm makes a mere declarative statement of God's glory depicted in his creation. Starlight Night proclaims that glory in joyful cries of exultation. It is more of a celebration of God's glory with a profusion of detail. He uses metaphors much as the same way as he does in Kingfishers Catch Fire, where he compares the white beams to the shoots of light in the sky, leaves of airy abellas torn free and scattering in the winds. The abellas, of course, are small pink and white tubular-shaped, bell-shaped flowers, and they are also found on the white poplar trees, especially in spring, and there's silver leaves in their budding. So we have that simile here too, to the scattering of the flowers as though they were doves being, scattering about the farmyard from a sudden scare. And also the fiery white snowflakes, a May mess, as he calls it, exploding galaxy of lights compared to the white apple, pear, cherry blossoms bursting into the sky. Early blossomings of early yellow willow trees. And he mentions almost he makes a reference to don't count the cost, spend all you have to buy this, buy then and sestet, buy then, buy what? Everything described above, and what do we use for payment? Prayer, patience, alms, vows. Look, a May mess. So he's saying that it requires on our part, our time, and we have to give of ourselves to find what is there. It's all there for the asking. We must respond, but God is always the initiator, while we must make acknowledgement of what we see and respond to it. So that's what the time and patience might imply. There's another poem by another favorite poet of mine, Sarah Teasdale, entitled Barter, which she says, "Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things. Spend all you have for loveliness, buy it, and never count the cost." So whether it's the gash gold vermilion found in the blue bleak embers of a hearth from the Windharver poem, or the dappled things found in so many of his other works, Hopkins brings that beauty to our senses through his use of inscape, his inverted term suggesting a thing's physical attributes or essence. Here again, he believes that a thing's distinctiveness reveals its innermost quality and beauty. In fact, he believed that this distinctiveness revealed a holiness, a deeper vision of its soul, its outward beauty being a proof of its inward beauty. So ever the keen observer of nature and beauty, Hopkins views the world as a choir of magnificence and seems that each and every piece of the universe or creation plays its role in that choir of giving this heavenly beauty of hymn of beauty. And he sees the world as a poem of beauty. His interest is the holiness manifested through the beauty found in all of creation. Here, the night sky reveals that hidden grandeur of God shining forth for all to witness. Our capacity to respond to this hidden beauty depends on our willingness to do so. And here when he mentions about prayer, patience, alms, vows, well, of course, alms is giving. And what he's asking is that we give of ourselves, give our attention to embrace this beauty wherever it may be hidden, but only with a little effort on our part can we uncover that. It's a giving of ourselves. So, like in most of his other works, he advises us to seek and we shall find. So, never count the cost, buy all we have, and praise God. So, it's a poem of exaltation and also a poem of gratitude for what God has given each of us in this world. He mentions about the barn being housing the shocks within, and of course that's Christ. So it's another example of the incarnation of Christ ever at work in the universe. And the bright palings shut the spouse, Christ within with his mother and all of the saints. Look, look, these are indeed the bond within doors house the shocks. This peace bright paling shuts the spouse, Christ home. So that is an example of the incarnation of Christ within the world.